Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. Well, I am tremendously blessed and honored to have another member of the Rainbow Light Trust with us today. We've had Jennifer Waters here with us before. She's a sound healer and talked to us about toning and tinnitus. And we've had Carol Lamb here talking to us about the continuity of consciousness. And today we have someone really special. She is a gifted natural psychic. She grew up in a family that was always seeking spiritually, so that was one bonus to growing up with them. But she phrases it a blessing in disguise, so we'll find out why she says that. She is a numerologist and astrologist, and what's interesting is that she's chosen to focus on mental and emotional patterns and see how they manifest in our psychology and our physiology. She's a medical astrologer. She's always been fascinated by the non-physical and how it becomes physical. She's going to be talking to us today a little bit about the keys to understanding health issues and disorders and diseases from an astro-numerological perspective. Without further ado, Sandra Lamb, thank you so much for being with us today, Sandra.
Well, hello, Tracy. Good to be with you.
If those of you that are listening, some of you like to check out our guests while you're listening, and you can find her at rainbowlighttrust.net. And if you go down on the page, there's a little section under Starlight, and you'll find her there. I am just beyond excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Tracy.
We've had one other astro-numerologist on the show, and his name was Lloyd Strayhorn. He's here in the U.S., and he does a lot of geopolitical prediction.
Right.
How would you define astrology?
My approach is to look at the traditional side of astrology. It's a very ancient art and dates back. It's told to around 4000 BC, but I really believe it's much, much older than that.
Wow. So over 6,000 years old, at least.
Yeah, I'm sure
Wow.
it's much older. I mean, we're just finding out that the pyramids are probably not the time span that they're telling us. So I've got a very open mind on how far back this may date. But, for me, astrology, I look at it from this point of view, that it's the study of the correlation between the astronomical positions of the planets and the events on Earth. It's the belief that the sun, the moon, and the planets at the time of a person's birth have a direct influence on the character. These positions are thought to affect the destiny, plays a large role in any individual's life. But astrology gives us tools for understanding human character. Most people know their own sun sign, but many people realise that all the planets have a sign. So we have a moon sign, a Mercury sign, a Venus sign, a Mars sign, and so on. And in a second, I'd like to actually say something about Saturn, because it's fundamental to all of us. None of us get away with anything with Saturn. And it has a very specific cycle that affects everybody. It doesn't matter what your birth chart is, it will play out in a very specific way. So character is believed to be influenced by the relationship that the planets, the sun and the moon have with each other. And those relationships are calculated by the number of degrees between them to see whether there is an influence or not. Some aspects indicate conflict and difficulties where they need to be harmonised. And this would outplay in the area of life indicated by the house placements where the planets appear in the chart. So that could be a conflict between home and work issues or family and relationships.
Depending on where they fall within the...
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's very specific how they actually outplay. It's not random.
Really. Yeah, I think of it like a science. I'm sure maybe that's the wrong term for it.
I think of it as like an art science, because it's very mathematical. I mean, there's nothing... it's very exact in many respects. There's also an element of art with it as well, and intuition.
Yes, absolutely.
It suits me because I've got an interest in the non-physical, but I also like a bit of proof in the physical as well. So I think that's why I'm attracted to it. It serves both sides of that way of thinking.
A lot of people probably think, well, how would you possibly be able to describe life with numbers or signs? But if you
Yeah.
think of it on a larger scale, looking into quantum physics and string
That's
theory,
right.
we live in a matrix and it is
That's
numeral,
right.
it's vibrationally set. So there are resonances and frequencies and numbers and synchronicities.
That's right. I
Yeah.
mean, when I first started doing numerology, I got so into it that it scared me a little bit at first because it was like having a peek into the workings of the universe. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is this? But when you actually put it into practice, you see it does actually translate into people's life experiences. It's not something I could just think, well, that's interesting. But that's what really got my interest when I saw how it really works out in people's lives when they are not aware of these influences. And yet, so you don't need to believe for it to work.
Right. It's not a religion.
No, but it's beyond religion really, because I feel that everything relates to numbers. You try
Yes.
and think of anything that doesn't come down to a number, whether it's your house address, your telephone number, your bank account, your street. We think in numbers all the time.
I think it connected for me a few years back when I realized that peaches don't generally grow in January, at least not in the US.
Yeah.
And each fruit has its season and there are particular characteristics that go along with that. So it made sense. We're so detached from our natural world for the most part that we forget that we do have connections to the planets and we think, well, what does a planet have to do with me? But I think we're going to find out some in this show, right?
I hope so. Because the way I see it, to me, it's like a giant cosmic clock that just ticks away in its own time, and we have no control over that. Now, if you believe, as I do, that there is this giant cosmic clock, then that feeds my faith because there must be a clockmaker.
Right, right. And it brings some order to the chaos.
That's right.
Yeah.
It shows you that, to me, it shows that despite all the chaos that we see, and it can be very frightening, I think, when we see what's happening.
If you think, yes, that there's
Yes, you can rise above that and
yes.
think, well, there's more to this. There's more to life than we're just being told. In fact, quite often, some people, when they have children who are very sensitive and psychically aware, they're dismissed and told to stop it.
Yes, yes. Often we're disregarded in our natural gifts when we're children. Absolutely. And I do think that and trauma, life trauma, is what usually shuts our gifts down. But they're there. They're always there. All of us have it. I want to bounce something off of you. I have always, I'm not a numerologist or astrologer. I dabble in just the language of it or the basics of it, but I don't use it as a professional tool at this time at all. But I kind of got this idea that in the process of us choosing to come to Earth, that we choose not only our parents and gender and lots of details about that, but we choose what I've been calling an astrological portal, so that we come through that point, so that we get imbued with the characteristics that we need to take on our challenge. What do you think about that?
I agree with that entirely. I mean, my belief is that we were somewhere before life, and before life and after life, we go back to the spirit world. And I don't think it's haphazard that we come down here and just have a difficult time.
No,
I think it's for me, it's the soul that is learning. It's the soul that takes its first breath. That the ego and the emotions and the mental body are developed along the way. But the first breath, that's the soul coming in. And I believe the soul has got its plan, and it's the astrological chart is showing what that plan is. So the soul is coming to learn something, even though that might seem difficult from the ego point of view.
Well, we forget our totality when we come into the physical. It's sort of like, and to understand that it's easy because when we go into the dream state, often we'll have great understanding of things and we think we'll never forget it. But yet the closer and closer we come to waking in a physical state, it's harder and harder to remember those dreams, but those dreams are sort of the code to learning that's much deeper to our soul.
Yeah, I've actually had dreams, very clear dreams, and then lived the experience and thought, oh my goodness, that was absolutely, I mean, even in things that didn't seem too profound. There's one time when I had a dream and I was being shown around somewhere, and there was a ledge, a mirror, big mirror, huge mirror along a wall, and a ledge of white hairdryers. Now, when I woke up, I couldn't make head nor sense of that, and I thought, well, that was a daft dream. I ignored it, and within a couple of weeks, I decided to join a gym, and it's a ladies only gym. And when they were showing me around, and there was the mirror and the hairdryers all in a line, just as I've seen them in the dream.
Very
it's as if you're being shown before you could. They always say things happen in spirit 48 hours before you experience them on the earth. And we could tune in more.
Yes, and I think that sense of deja vu or precognition is there to let us know it's okay, you're on the right path, this is the right way. It's sort of like, I've always felt like maybe I was slightly retarded, in the sense that it's like so many signs had to be given to me. So it's like, come on, like Tracey, you're going the right way. Okay, over here.
I feel like that sometimes. But also it should be a comfort, because
it is.
If we are, in spirit, and we tap into that in dream state, the consciousness taps in on a different level to the dream state. And if we are being shown, if it's 48 hours beforehand, then we should take, I think, some comfort from that. It isn't as random and haphazard as we think. No, it's our response to what happens, maybe, that we should adjust.
Yes, it's the teaching and guidance of spirit and learning to help us trust that part of us that isn't aware right now, so that we realize there is more that we can trust that's beyond our awareness. Speaking of that, I would be very curious how you would describe medical astrology. That's just such an interesting term.
Right. Medical astrology is exactly the same chart that you would use for any other reading, except what you're doing is you're looking at how the planets and the signs, the sun and the moon, how they all relate to the body, and it's a very specific way of looking at things. So basically, the signs are related to anatomy, and the planets are related to physiology, which is right up my street, because I love anatomy and physiology anyway. So I found that quite fascinating when I first started to look at medical astrology. So the planets are activating energies that describe various types of symptoms and illness, and they then outplay in the signs. So it's like the planets are the activating energy, and the signs are the receiving energy, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's like the planets suggest the kind of pathological action that's taking place, and the signs indicate where in the body it's taking place.
That's really interesting. I had just not thought of it at the refined level that you work at. I had read, I don't know if it's Pisces, that you have to look out for problems with your feet or something. It's related to the feet,
exactly.
This kind of thing. But that's such a gross scale, and I just find it fascinating that it could go deeper than that.
Well, in a little while, I'd love to say something about that, because that was exactly my experience as a child. I had to have an operation on my foot, but I'd like to come back to that in a little while, because
absolutely.
It was Pisces, and it was Saturn, and it played out in my feet, and rather than just jump to it right now,
if you would like, yes, absolutely, yes. We don't have any particular order. We're just talking.
Yeah, but if you give me a nudge later in case I'm missing it. But just before we go on, I would just like to mention that Saturn cycle before we just go on a bit further.
Yes, absolutely.
The medical side. The Saturn cycle. We're all into this one. It's a 29-year cycle from where it starts when you're born to actually going right round the circle and meeting itself again. So that's a 129-year cycle. So that really splits into 4 7-year periods. So your first 7 years of life, this is all of us, the first 7 years of life are influenced by, it's like the first quarter of the cycle. So this takes the child up to 7 years old. And that takes it to the ability to make personal choices where character is believed to be set at this point. It's like, give me the child at 7 and I'll give you the man. It's that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So when it's halfway around, we call it the first opposition. It's like it opposes itself on the other side of the chart to its starting point. That takes us to the age of 14 and puberty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you see where it's going.
Those would be
So, and then when
difficult
you carry on,
times.
so you carry on with the next 7 years, and that takes us to 21. So we're 3/4 way around now, and we're 21.
Uh-huh.
Now that's the traditional coming of age and the age of maturity when you're no longer considered to be a junior, but a fully responsible adult. Remember when I first started work, I was a junior till I was 21, and I didn't go on to the senior pay rate till I was 21, even though I was doing the same job. So then you get, let's go right around the circle now to 29, and it's called the first Saturn return, back to the starting point. So that's the age of about 28 to 30, so we can say 29. It varies slightly with each individual.
Sure.
Now, at this point, we're expected to be able to take control over our own life situations. At this point, if people look back on the life, many people undergo severe tests, especially in close relationships. It brings make or break issues. Something will have happened around 29 where you had a bit of a crisis going on.
Yes.
Because you're leaving behind one way of living because you're now expected to come up higher with your understanding and the way you operate in the world.
Oh, I like the way you said that, like sort of a let it go because you need to come up higher. I like that.
Yes, that's right. Because if you try and hold on to it, it's going anyway.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you'll cause yourself more discomfort if you try to hold on to something that you're supposed to let go of. You're supposed to move forward now. So there's a major turning point every 7 years throughout the whole life cycle, attributed to the Saturn cycle. It never stops. Every 7 years this continues until we pass over.
Wow.
Now the second Saturn return, so we go around again. Second Saturn return occurs around the age of 58, 59. Now, traditionally, this is the point we're facing retirement and the need to plan for that. So at this point, we can review what we've got to so far, what we've achieved so far in life. So it's like a life review. So what have we done? What have we achieved? What haven't we done yet? Have we still got time to do it? It's that kind of
Sort
thing.
of a reassessment, a reevaluation of yes.
So some people could feel quite depressed at that point because I think, well, I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. But there's still time. There's still time. That it's not the end. There's still time to do things if we put our mind to it. Now, the third Saturn return, if we get that far, occurs around 85, 86 years old. Now, at that point, there is a need for acceptance of what we have experienced in life, because from 80 years onwards, we're reflecting on what's been done. That what's done is done, and it can't be changed.
Yes.
So then that's where we're trying to understand, well, what was all that about then? So Saturn plays a very important part in our life because we all go through those stages.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Knowing that life does continue on past that, the perspective that you gain through going through those cycles is special and precious.
Yeah. So when we come to medical, let's flip over to the medical astrology side.
Yes.
So we said we were looking at anatomy and physiology, really, being shown to us through the through the planets and through the signs. I think that's quite a strange thing. Now, I think it's important, really, to say that not all negative planetary aspects manifest at the physical level.
True.
Because some of them are occurring on the higher levels, the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional. So even if something is seen in the chart, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come into the physical. So the majority of negative aspects occurring at any given time in the chart do not usually come into the physical. However, once they do come into the physical, you can actually see them in the chart. You can actually plot through the chart where they're coming from and how they've occurred. They will show once it's physical.
How interesting.
So it's my belief that the effects of these planetary aspects can be resolved at the spiritual, mental, and emotional levels of consciousness, that they'll only manifest in the physical body when this hasn't occurred. And that this would be in order to bring the underlying energy patterns to the consciousness so that we can deal with them.
So you're saying that it might be in your chart to manifest at a certain point, but if you manage yourself better at the mental, emotional, and spiritual levels, it may not actually. That's a lot of power of the mind, isn't it?
Well, it is. And what it means is it puts some control back in our hands, because when that Saturn cycles whiz around a few times and we're reflecting on our life, what's happened, when we're not in a position to change it anymore, we can't go back and change relationships when we're 80. It's a done deal.
Right.
So it's a good idea, in my view, to try and resolve as much as we can, try and be as reasonable as we can, try and be as understanding and compassionate as we can. Develop that way of thinking instead of wanting to, hit back and retaliate at things. Because that is what's going to manifest in the body.
Yes. So you're saying the conflict of mental, emotional, or spiritual frustration would definitely manifest in the physical body if it isn't managed otherwise in a more harmonious way. That's
right. And I think no one's got such a bad, deal that nothing can be done. We all have choice. No matter what happens, we've always got a choice of how we respond.
Yes. Yeah, and our belief systems are so strong too.
Yes.
And we can choose to obsess over something physical and let it dominate the way that we view our entire life, or we can move past it and, enjoy a very fulfilled life too.
That's right. Yeah. So if we come to, can medical astrology be used for diagnosis? The answer is actually no. After I've said all this, it's actually no. And this is a legal thing. It's because only a qualified medical practitioner is allowed to diagnose illness.
Oh, so yes.
Yes, what a medical astrologer can do, what they are allowed to do, is to discuss the concepts of medical astrology, with the client, using the birth chart on an educational and instructional basis. And they would then advise the client to see the doctor to see if any investigation or tests were required.
Yeah, good practice.
Well, that's the way it's got round.
Yeah, that's wise anyway. Being the source of the source is much better than being responsible for being the source. Yes. Yeah, we have to do that as well. When I find something in someone's body or see something in their energy field or in their body, then I just draw their attention to it and send them on to the professionals to find what the real deal is there. Sometimes it's just sort of a heads up,
That's it. But sometimes the doctor can't actually get there. The doctor can't see it because they're coming from a different...
Or might be looking elsewhere, right?
They're coming from the symptoms, aren't they? Whereas when you're looking at the chart, you're coming from the cause.
Yes.
Seeing what the cause is that's going to manifest as the symptoms.
Yes.
So it's the opposite way of looking at it.
I like that the chart, and also from our psychic perception, it is coming relative to the cause and the root, and then the doctor handling the symptoms and the cure, perhaps.
And there's a real need for doctors as well. I mean, their arm,
absolutely.
You need the doctor, and there's times when people can't do things on their own, they can't get themselves well, and they do need medication. Absolutely. So really, to my mind, a marriage of the two sides would be the best outcome.
Perfect.
If they could both work more in harmony together.
We are at the bottom of the hour, so if you'll hold tight, we'll be back with Sandra Lamb, and medical astrologist, and the other side of the hour here.
Now back to our show from a medium's perspective with host Reverend Tracey Lockwood.
Welcome back. If you missed the first half of the show or would like to listen to any of our other shows and episodes, you will find them on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and put in Medium Tracey Lockwood. And while you're there, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. If you'd be interested in a certification of your mediumship, not an evaluation of your quality, because of course you're awesome just the way you are, but a program that's comprehensive, or if you'd be interested in working privately with me to develop your mediumship or to get a private reading, I would be happy to do so. You can find more information at mediumtraceylockwood.com. If you'd like to reach our guest today, her name is Sandra Lamb, and she's found at rainbowlighttrust.net. Sandra, we were just talking about the collaboration of approaches of a medical astrologer or a medical medium helping find the root of a problem, the cause, and then working with a medical professional for the diagnosis. Thank you for that so much. I wanted to ask you about some of the benefits of medical astrology too.
What you can do is you can identify health tendencies and natural weaknesses already before anything happens. With a chart, you can actually do what you call a progression. You can run it forward and you can see where it's going to go. So that gives us some kind of timing. So if there's anything that does come into the physical or has already come into the physical, you can track it. You can see what was happening, as I've done with my own. So progression is personal to your chart. Now, the current planetary transits are what's going on above us in the sky, and they affect everyone. These can bring about, if they match something in your chart, they can manifest a health tendency. Transits can actually trigger an onset of symptoms. So it's very good if something occurs, if you get a pain or something happens, note down the time and the day, because if you do get your astrology chart done, you can then start to track what was going on at that particular time, and it should give you some insight into what the cause of it is.
Oh, that's very interesting.
I think that's I would say those are some of the benefits, because I would say prevention is better than cure, really.
Absolutely.
If you can get there.
Yes, yeah, and forewarned is forearmed.
Right, yeah. They will show up natural strength and your natural weaknesses, so they don't have to manifest, but they just might.
Yes. So being sort of on guard, maybe doing the preventative measures to keep it from at bay as best as possible. Very interesting. So the progress chart would be the personal chart where things are affecting that individual, and the transits would be the larger gross effect of the system on all people. And
that's the system that's beaming down on us all right now. Yes.
What do you think about the influence? Is that what you were talking about the influence of the planets on the body, or?
So if we just very briefly skip over how the planets affect the body organs, if they do. When they do manifest. So with the sun, it's connected to the heart and spinal disorders. Interestingly, the sun governs the right eye in males and the left eye in females. I always find these things quite interesting.
Say that again. You said the heart governs those. The sun governs the heart and the
heart and spine disorders. So the sun governs the right eye in males and the left eye in females.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Now, if you go to the moon, that's typical female things, menstrual and mammary complaints, fluid retention, uterus, stomach. It's that kind of manifestation. But the moon governs, it's the opposite now. The moon governs the right eye in females and the left eye in males.
Oh.
Yes, isn't that interesting?
I wonder if that has anything to do. No, I guess not. I was going to say it with intuition, but I know there.
I don't know, because I was wondering that. I was wondering, is it anything to do?
Or maybe the way that intuition is exhibited.
It's got to be something to do with. the way it must be the way we receive masculine and feminine energy into the brain and the eyes. Wow. But to move on to Mercury is the nervous one. It deals with tremors, neuroses, mental instability. This is when it's negative, of course. It can be respiratory problems. It connects with the sense of hearing and the auditory nerves. Now, Venus is the reproductive system, along with Mars. So you've got your male and your female going on there with Mars. So Venus is the digestive system, the kidneys, digestive disorders. It relates to the thymus gland. Mars, we get the red corpuscles. It affects the muscles, adrenal glands. So if you've got a weak Mars, you could be having blood problems or weak muscles. And again, if it's too strong, if your Mars energy is too strong and you're a bit rash, you're likely to go into cuts, injuries, bruises, as well as fevers, because you've got too much heat going on in your body. So it relates to inflammations.
As you say that, you can kind of, if you know anything about astrology, the influence of the signs or the characteristics of people ruled by those different planets, it's interesting because it kind of follows the personality a bit.
You can see the types, can't you?
Oh, interesting.
That's right. So we've got Jupiter. It's liver and liver disorders. Now, my father was Sagittarius, and Sagittarius relates to Jupiter. I'm afraid to say he did have liver problems in his life. So that one, again, it's personally outplayed before my eyes. So Jupiter also relates to fats and arterial circulation and the pituitary gland. So Jupiter and Sagittarius are associated with a bit too much of everything. They like too much of everything. So they decided to calm down a bit. And then you get Saturn, which is the opposite. Saturn is more inward and contracting. So Saturn relates more to the harder parts of the body, the skin, the bones, cuticles, nails, teeth, and so on, the skeleton. So diseases of decline, like old age.
Like osteoporosis or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So
would it also maybe affect people with an eating disorder where they have restrict or purge or something like anorexia? Do you think that would be influenced by Saturn?
Yeah, I think so. I do have something on that, but I just not.
It's okay. I just
at the moment, but there is definitely a planetary association with. I'll see if I can find it for you.
And how that hits
anemia and bulimia, that shows up very. There is an astrological association with that. They're not just being silly; they are actually having real difficulties there.
Well, and you mentioned earlier that it's where the planet is in your chart. And if you look at the chart, for those of you that don't know, it's like a clock. It's divided in the half, with the upper half, the upper, what is the upper horizon? And tell us about the division of the houses and the chart, just in general.
Right. So what we have, just a moment. You have different parts of the chart that it's like the again, it's a bit like the Saturn cycle, that the first from birth, the first quarter is concentrating on personal development, the very, very early personal development, and the second quarter is more where you're going to college or university and learning to mix with people, and you get in your education and learning how to operate at that level. And the third quarter, you're learning how to then you go out into the world, work with people, mix with people, learn how to manage your affairs in the collective. And then the fourth quarter is where you then start to go into withdrawing from that side of life and concentrating more on your spiritual life and what it all meant, and what you're going to take with you, really, when you leave the life. What are you going to take with you? You're not building up at that point. You're actually conserving.
Yeah,
But you
thank
do.
you. I didn't mean to toss you off the topic. It popped in my mind.
No, it's okay. Okay.
Oh,
So we were just saying about the organs and what effect they have. If we go to the astrological signs, there are similarities with the planetary energies, the signs that they're in. There's a correlation. So there's a correlation with Aries and Mars, and they both deal with the head area. So diseases could be headaches, fevers, and so on. And it's really because the energy is often in excess of the nervous and mental balances. They're a bit too, they're rushing about, wanting to do things too fast, a bit impetuous. The antidote is fine. So if you have
the antidote, I'm sorry, I lost that word. The antidote is what?
The antidote is if you're having problems with one side of the sign, the opposite sign is where you find the answer, the antidote. So it's the Aries energy is too strong that's causing problems with headaches, inflammatory conditions, and it can get quite serious, from migraine, and if it gets bad enough, it could go into epilepsy. But the other side of the sign is Libra, and Libra is literally the opposite. More relaxed, easygoing, takes things in the stride. So if Libra goes too far that way, then it goes into apathy and doesn't want to do anything. There's no get up and go. So it's about, with the axes, it's about the balance. It's about the two meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
Having a balance of those energies. So with Taurus, it can go into overindulgences, liking the comforts of life too much, and that can bring on the tendency to brood over troubles, which can bring on illnesses, particularly around the throat area. So anatomically, it's the neck, the ears, the throat, but they have very good recuperative forces. Taurus is the strongest sign. It has the best vital force of all the signs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Aries is the second, and I think Leo's the third. Sagittarius is not as strong as you would think. It's a fire sign, but it's not that strong.
We're mutable.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
It's that you have to take care because you would think it's fire, so it must be very, very strong. But it needs to take a little bit of care, with a bit more care than you think with the Sagittarius.
Yeah.
So like the Gemini will be nervous, of restlessness. So there you could have, it starts to go down the body. The signs actually go down the body. So we start with the head in Aries and we end up with the feet in Pisces. So the disorders or the strengths go down the body in that respect.
That's really interesting. It's beyond fascinating, actually. So I'm curious, regarding planets and maybe metabolism. I know that's a hot topic for.
This has got to be worth a shot, hasn't it? There isn't. So, do the planets affect metabolism? And is there an effect on weight gain and weight loss? Well, yes, apparently there is. And we're looking at the Sun, Mars, and Saturn as the culprits of this. So what we're saying is, with Mars, you're looking at fast energy, fast burn. So when the Sun and Mars act together, when they're in aspect together and working together, they can tend to be, it speeds up the metabolism, and they can tend to lose heat quickly and feel frequently hungry. So they need to eat frequent meals, small meals, and to keep warm because they're losing their heat. So Mars actually governs the speed at which we burn calories. How about that? I think that's quite interesting.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So Mars, but the thing is, we have earth signs, we have fire signs, water signs, and air signs. So when Mars is actually in an earth sign, it slows it down. So that contributes to weight gain. So the Earth sign is slowing the action down. So an Earth Mars requires less fuel and burns it slowly compared to, say, a fast fire sign.
Mm-hmm.
Like Aries. So if you had a Mars in Aries, it's going to be a fast burn. You're going to burn up your metabolism is going to quite fast.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So, and if you had Saturn in Capricorn, it's going to slow things down tremendously. So the next slowest element for Mars is water, and air signs are moderately fast. So the fastest is fire, and the slowest is earth. The next fastest is air, and the next slowest is water. That's the way it works. Now, if you go to the other side, if you look at the Sun-Saturn side of things, if these two are acting together, this is said to slow down the metabolism because they hold the heat in and burn fuel slowly. So the appetite is not as robust as when Sun and Mars are together.
Yeah. That's
I think that
interesting.
So for all those people who struggle, who think, I eat as much as my friend, and look at the way she's lost a stone, and I've put a stone on.
Yes.
It maybe have a look at your chart.
Oh,
See
that's so
what's going on.
Yeah, right. Right. What about the moon? What do you think?
Yeah.
We hear about it affecting water and the tides.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah.
What else do you have to say?
This is like Saturn. This is one that we all get. This one, we can't escape from this one. Well, they say the sun sheds light on what you want, and the moon sheds light on what you need. There might be a difference there. The ascendant sheds light on the way you go about getting things, and Saturn sheds light on what is within a person that causes him to either fail or to be dissatisfied once he's achieved his desire. So so what we're saying is the moon influences health because it rules the rate of flow of energy in the body. In other words, the vitality. So that can be even or an uneven flow. And this will be affected by what signs it's in and what other aspects of the planets are making. So nothing acts on its own. Everything's related.
And so you had said
relative, isn't it?
The sun sheds light on what we want, in other words, our desires, but the moon sheds light on what we need. And so looking at our moon could help us see what's deeper than
that's right.
Superficial. Oh, very interesting.
It's like if we get what we want but we don't get what we need, what good? It's not going to be much good, is it?
No, I guess.
Really, we think it will, but
right.
So if we think of the waters of the earth, they're largely under the dominion of the moon, which affects the oceans. We know it produces tides and waves. We know the body is over 80% water when we're well. And the moon, therefore, affects the brain, the blood vessels, the glands, the cells. And the moon rules our responsiveness and adjustment to change in everyday life. So, whether we want to go ahead with something or we're holding back. So the moon sign indicates the mode of our self-defense.
Oh.
Whether we're aggressive, emotionally aggressive, or we just go away and hide, or whether we don't care.
Sort of how we deal.
Let it go. I don't care.
Yeah. Sandra, before we leave, I have to hear your story as a child. So we've got maybe 2 minutes. I don't know.
Okay.
Lay it down for us.
Okay. Right. I'll tell you the one where I had bronchitis. As a child. Let me just find it. And what happened was, from 12 years old, I was walking by my mother saying I wouldn't be going to school that day. I'd got whooping cough. I had no idea I'd been coughing all night.
Wow.
And I had 3 months off school recuperating. Now, every year, annually after that, every year, I had bronchitis every March. Now, I just took that as a family trait because lots of people in the family have the same thing. But there were 3 particular times when I was told I was on the verge of bronchial pneumonia by a doctor. So I just about escaped bronchial pneumonia. Now, when I looked at my chart, I found that there was a connection between the Saturn and the Chiron in Germany. And lo and behold, part of the the diseases that brings about is pneumonia and bronchitis. So that had actually manifested for me. Now the way that I believe I got through that, because I'm a lot better now than I used to be, and you'd think it would get worse. But when I was 42, I started to train in aromatherapy, reflexology, and other holistics, past life therapy, and I believe that broke the pattern that was underlying and causing that illness.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sandra, I'm so sorry we're at the end of our time.
That's fine, Tracy. It's been wonderful talking to you.
And I'd like to mention that my professional psychic mediumship certification program is underway. This program is offered both in February and August each year. It's a 14-week immersion program and will give you a substantial amount of practice giving readings in about every technique available. And we'll be doing readings beginning with the body basics, and then the left brain tools, and then those used for psychic readings, and go on into mediumship exercises and an introduction into channeling. So for those of you that are planning a career in psychic mediumship, this course is good for you. It includes business tips in addition to just a wealth of information. If you are just learning to use your abilities and would like a comprehensive, structured program to develop them within, this program would also be for you because it's designed for individuals at all levels of practice. And if you're interested, there's more information on my website at mediumtraceylockwood.com. Again, if you would like to find me, you can find me at mediumtraceylockwood.com or friend me on Facebook at Psychic Medium Tracey Lockwood. I will see you next week for a view of life from a medium's perspective. And remember, it's never inappropriate to be kind. And without integrity, you have nothing.